Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
You know, I've been thinking, I know, dangerous, right? But remember my last video where I talked about books that were written kind of about minimalism, but they didn't even use the term minimalism, and the people who wrote them probably don't even think of themselves necessarily as minimalists. And it's really interesting to me that some people, it seems like, just naturally fall into a simple life where they're intentional about the things that they own and they're not worried about collecting a bunch of junk. And they didn't need anyone to tell them to do that. They didn't need the minimalist movement or anything. They just kind of naturally did it. And then there's those of us who were living a normal life, filled with all the trappings of whatever it is that our sociological or cultural or whatever people tell us to do. And it wasn't till minimalism came around that we realized, oh, maybe I don't have to live this way and I can start getting rid of some of the crap. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. I've loved minimalism, what it's done for me, the community that it's created. But I can't help but be at least a little bit jealous or at least intrigued by people who just kind of did it. And they're like, minimalism, well, yeah, that's just the way I live, I guess. I don't know. And maybe this is two ways of coming to the same lifestyle, the same way of living. But I think that there is another distinction. And that is that I think the people who kind of are natural minimalists, I don't even necessarily use the term, they're not as fixated on objects and possessions and things like that in the same way that those of us who are minimalists are. They don't know how many items they own. They don't ask themselves, what can I get rid of next? They simply live their lives focused on the goal, whatever their goal of their life is, and everything else is just kind of periphery. They own the things they need and they just let everything else go. Because why have it if you don't need it, right? Let it all go, let it all go. That for me is kind of the end goal with minimalism. I don't necessarily always want to be a minimalist who's thinking about what can I get rid of next or how can I, pare down this or that. I'd rather just be so focused on my goals, on the way I want to be living my life and the things that I want to be accomplishing that everything else becomes peripheral. Sometimes people ask, how do you know when you're a minimalist? Like, how do you know when you've got there, right? You've achieved it. And some people will say you never really do necessarily. Minimalism is kind of a lifelong process where you're always questioning what you own. You're always kind of rethinking these types of things. But I think that there is sort of an end goal. There is sort of a point that maybe you might know that you've become a minimalist, and that's when you don't call yourself a minimalist. You just live. And the things that you own serve you, and if they don't, you just let them go. Simple, right? Let's keep this simple. But as minimalists, I think we so often make it so complicated. What if this happens? Or should I keep this? Should I not keep it? It just doesn't have to be that hard, I don't think. I think that there's a danger in minimalism when it comes to focusing too much on the items and on what you own, what you get rid of, all that kind of stuff. If you shift your focus and focus more on your goals, your dreams, what does God want me to do in my life? How am I helping other people? If you become more outwardly focused, I think that all of the extra stuff that we don't need will just start naturally falling away without us kind of laboring over it and really thinking too much about it. I think about people before the times where there was so much cheap crap, Think of like old-time ranchers, or even go back to biblical times. People didn't labor over these things and think, oh, do I need this? Should I get rid of this? They just had the things that they needed. It's simple. Just so simple and sweet. And I know that's a lot easier said than done. And sometimes all these rules or like ways of thinking of how to get rid of things can be helpful. I know I use them still to this day. But I'd like to get to the point where I don't. Where I'm just simply living. Because that's what it's all about, right? It makes me think of how they say that you've learned a language. You know that you're fluent in a language when you start dreaming in the language, right? You don't have to sit there and translate in your head, this word means this. You just do it automatically. Your brain just does it. It's just a part of the way that you think. So when I say that I don't want to be a minimalist, it's not that I want to go back to owning all this extra crap that I don't need or anything like that. It's more that I'd like to get to a point where I don't have to think about these things and think about minimalism and what would a minimalist do? If people only know me or think of me as a minimalist, then what good is that? I don't want to be known for the things that I don't have. I want to be known for the things that I've done, that I've accomplished, and that's what I need to be focused on. When I'm dead and gone, I don't want my tombstone to say he didn't own a lot of things. I want it to say he lived for God fully and completely. So what about you? Do you like the term minimal? I know sometimes minimalism has become like a dirty word, and that's not what I'm trying to say here. So do you think there is an end goal to becoming a minimalist, or do you think it's just a lifelong process and there isn't really any, I don't know. I don't know if this video really made any sense, but do you see what I'm saying here? Like, what do you think? Do you think that you'll always be kind of thinking about minimalism, or maybe you don't? Maybe you're one of those sort of natural minimalists and it comes easy to you. I don't know. Let me know what you think, or if this just didn't really make any sense at all, which is definitely a possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, keep it simple, question everything, and stay radical. It's like a secret handshake, except it's just on my end. Yeah.
Train yourself to let go. Train yourself to let go.